Chelsea Football Club are set to make a new and improved offer stroke bid for Erling Haaland. In the week, it was reported that an informal bid or a formal inquiry was made with cash plus a player. Tammy Abraham was the touted name, which was reportedly turned down by Borussia Dortmund. According to reports coming out of Germany, Chelsea will go back at some point in this next week with an improved offer, more cash up front, and the option to sign a different player. Sky Germany are reporting one of those the three players that will be offered, and it will be for one of those players plus cash, not all three. Could be Ziyech, could be Callum Hudson-Odoi, but a big name they've mentioned today is potentially Timo Werner. I think one thing that is undoubted to the majority of football fans is Chelsea will go in with a new bid or a new offer to try and push this forward. It is Roman's number one target. It's Tuchel's number one target. They want to get this deal done this summer. We're going to delve into that in more detail. We're going to take your calls around this new potential offer going in for Haaland. Plus, I want to talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi. Does he have a future at Chelsea Football Club? Linked again with this swap deal move for Borussia Dortmund's Erling Haaland, and also reports again coming out of Germany today that potentially he could be used in a swap deal for Kingsley Coman. Now, I'm not saying that deal is true. I'm not saying that deal is going to happen, but I want your opinion on this. Do you think he has a long-term future at Chelsea Football Club? Hit that like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the Football Terrace. Here we go. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Football Terrace. The Haaland saga continues on, continues to give us news, continues to give us something to talk about. Sky Germany reporting today that Chelsea Football Club are looking to make I'm not really worried about the semantics, an offer, an inquiry, a bid. They're all practically the same thing. They will not make an official bid. Chelsea will not make an official bid until they are 99.9% sure that it will be accepted. But they are working with intermediaries, as do the majority of football clubs now across Europe when working on transfer deals. They're working with intermediaries to try and get this deal done. According to Sky Germany, the new offer will be using cash, so more cash than they offered before, plus one of the three: Ziyech, Werner, or Callum Hudson-Odoi. Tammy Abraham has been reportedly ruled out. He's not wanted by Borussia Dortmund. He will not be a player that they look to move there. Equally, I did read some reports this week that Hudson-Odoi doesn't want to go and play football in Germany. The one issue with trying to do a swap deal of any sort is you've got to have the player that you're offering agree to move. But it's whether or not this is just Chelsea sounding out emotion, adding a little bit more cash in if they can get a little bit of a nibble. If they do, then maybe they talk to the players to see about doing some kind of swap deal. I still think if Chelsea are going to land this deal, it's going to have to be the bid's going to have to be inclusively of cash. I think swap deals are too difficult to get done in this day and age, but it's definitely a sounding out tool. Chelsea working with the intermediaries to put this in. What is very, very interesting was a report that I read this morning in The Athletic, actually, and this is what it says. It was talking about the deal, what they're going to be offering, etc. It went on to say, however, senior figures at Chelsea were surprised by reports suggested they believe a bid of £150 million would be enough to land Haaland this summer, as they are of the view that Dortmund have no interest in selling in this window, regardless of the price. Chelsea Football Club seem to really be it's kind of going unnoticed this year. A lot of the German press, or a lot of the foreign press especially, have been very forthright with this. With a €75 million bid, Haaland is available. I think Patrick Berger, Jan Fjørtoft, I think Christian Falk may have done it, but I'm not too sure. And Fabrizio, I've all said an offer of that level could change things. A gargantuan offer could change things. Chelsea Football Club are very much pushing out via David Ornstein in The Athletic that they don't think a bid of £150 million cash would do it. It's interesting that this is being pushed out, in my view, by Chelsea Football Club, because why would you make any kind of offer at all then if they're not going to sell? Whether you want to call it an informal offer, a formal inquiry, an official bid, an unofficial bid, an attempt to sign him, I don't really care about the makeup of it and what words we want to use. Why would you have made that offer last week? I'm reliably informed that Chelsea did make the inquiry via an intermediary. They didn't make an official bid, but again, really and truly, to fans, what's the difference? So honestly, I don't think some fans care. Some fans want to be able to say we were not turned down, we were not rejected. But it doesn't. What Ornstein said doesn't make sense. You don't make these inquiries if you have no belief that they won't sell. If Chelsea Football Club are one of the most impeccably run football clubs in the world, if they believed wholeheartedly 100% this deal wasn't going to happen, they wouldn't be talking to an intermediary. They wouldn't have made this offer this week. I would say this to Chelsea fans. This deal is in the early stages of bidding. It's always done informally. It's always done via inquiries. It's nearly always now done via intermediaries. And you start off looking at your best case scenarios, the least amount of cash exchanging hands as possible. Maybe you look at a handful of players that you're not so much are not needed, but you'd be happy to see leave if it means that you bring Haaland into the football club. And you see how the land lies. You see what the response is like from the vendor, from the selling club. And then you start going back with bigger and better offers. I know Chelsea fans want this deal done now. I know Chelsea fans want this deal done and over the line instantly. It was never going to work like that. No one was going to part with £150 million cash outright up front without trying to work out a better deal for themselves. It was just never going to happen, especially as some of the players they're offering up certainly seem to have less of a future at the club than others. I have got a poll running as well on today's stream around Callum Hudson-Odoi. Do you think he has a future at Chelsea Football Club? I think Callum Hudson... Now, hear me out here. I know a lot of Chelsea fans will be like, I can't believe it. I'm not listening to this. My stance is Callum Hudson-Odoi is one of the best young players in English football. One of the best. Undoubtedly one of the best. But I keep hearing links with him moving away. He keeps being linked with the music. Now, Chelsea keep saying, no way is he going. 100% he's staying. Chelsea have also told David Ornstein that they think there's 0% chance of signing Haaland, but they've still bid for him or put an informal offer for him in this summer. Go work that one out, Perry. Go work that one out. I think for me, that's why I want to look at this, and I want to understand what it is you're saying. A few people saying he stays 100% facts, and he might stay this summer 100% facts. The question is, though, does he have a future? Do you see Callum Hudson-Odoi working himself into the first team at Chelsea throughout the course of next season? You can vote on the poll. You can phone up and have your say. I think, again, a lot of Chelsea fans in the comment section firing at me here. I think Chelsea would be idiotic, stupid, ridiculous to get rid of him. But I am asking a question. Don't be triggered by the question. If you're triggered by questions, you are really going to struggle in life. Thomas here says, talking nonsense. I don't know what you're referring to my nonsense about. The reports about Chelsea's bid have come from Sky Germany. There's many that are floating around. We know Chelsea are trying to sign him. What I would say about their reports of this, I don't know whether or not, like personally, as a factual piece of information, whether or not the second offer is going to go in the way Sky have said. But Chelsea will be making another offer. Chelsea will definitely be doing it through intermediaries. How else do you make an informal, unofficial bid without using intermediaries? Of course that was going to happen. Any Chelsea fan that thought Chelsea were just going to offer £150 million outright for a player without doing it this way, you don't understand how it works. You need to stop listening to idiots and start listening to the informed professionals. That's who I learned from. I'm not an informed professional on transfers. I listen to the professionals. This is how it's done. Slow yourselves down. Man like CFC Time says, facts, Terry. Thank you very much indeed. Omar says it won't happen. Please be specific. Please be specific when it comes to what you mean, my brother. I know you're one of our great members, but I don't know what you mean by that, my friend. Thank you, Terry. Best run football club in the world. Very well run. And that's why the way you're operating, going after Haaland, I do not understand the panic. I don't get it. Every story I see that isn't we've signed him this is crazy. When we spoke about, we spoke to agents a week or so ago and spoke about this new bid that was going to go in. It was going to be up to £150 million. There'd be cash and there'd be add-ons. Initially, you've gone in with trying to put some players in to keep the cash levels down. And everyone's like, yeah, that's great. But we said in the video, it's going to be a slow process. There'll be lower bids and it will build up over time. Chelsea still may not decide to bid the full 150. No one has said they were 100% going to bid it. Roma might want to do it, but the club may not allow it. Nobody still quite understands exactly the ramifications of FFP. And on top of the ramifications of FFP, nobody still quite understands in football the knock-on effect of a signing like this could have on the whole dressing room in terms of salaries and the knock-on effects. Is it affordable over a 2, 3, 4 year, 5 year period? So Chelsea, that's why they're going in with these player options to begin with, because it lowers the overall wage bill and it stops them putting out maybe an extra 30, 40, 50 million pound of their own cash. It is highly sensible, highly logical, and highly plausible that a team behaves in this way. It shouldn't be shocking you or upsetting you at all. Let's go to some of your comments here. Lord Zola says, I just don't see who else they can go for if it's not Haaland. Problem is Dortmund the problem is Dortmund will to get someone in, and there's just a month left until the next season starts. Of course, the longer this goes on, the harder it is for Chelsea to complete. I do hear you on that one. Danny here says, I believe Haaland will arrive. Olu here says Chelsea should give Tammy to Dortmund or put 150 million pound or forget about Haaland. Well, according to the reports today, Tammy Abraham is off the table. Dortmund don't want him. They've said no to that. The reports that Hudson-Odoi was offered turned out to be false. Chelsea didn't offer him up as part of the deal. What's now being reported is that Chelsea will make him part of the deal. There's also another report today that I read that potentially Callum Hudson-Odoi could be using a swap deal for Kingsley Coman. There's a couple of players Chelsea have been linked to this year that make no sense. I thought Soundaguez was a weird one, which is still open and still on. They've made inquiries. And I certainly think Kingsley Coman makes no sense. Imagine swapping Hudson-Odoi, who I think has got more talent than Kingsley Coman. I would be so shocked if that happens. Honest to God. I think Cho is better. But there we go. That's the rumors. His name keeps coming up. Why does his name keep coming up? I want answers, people. To hear one of our great followers of the Football Terrace and Super Chat says, fellow Chelsea fans, relax. Trust Roman. Look at the trophies he has won us. Morning, Terry. Morning to you too, Mr. Khan. I hope you're very, very well. Chelsea, why are Chelsea offering cash plus players if they're not sure if the offer would be accepted? Because it's not, well, because that's how it works. You never know what is or isn't going to be accepted until you ask. Like, this isn't like buying a tin of beans from Tesco's. They cost 69p. When you go into Tesco's, unless they're out of date or damaged, you pay 69p. And 69p is probably far too much money for a tin of beans. But you get my point, right? This isn't like buying from Argos or Tesco's or Walmart. This is higher level business-to-business corporate sales. There is no said thing as a set fee. It's about negotiations. And only a stupid, pathetic, horrible little club would go, okay, we'll just pay it straight away without trying to drive it down. Chelsea are an impeccably run football club. That's why they're doing it. And they're not going straight to Dortmund. They're doing it via an intermediary. The only stumbling block here is if the intermediary they've picked is giving them bad information. Woodward did that last year with Man United. The Woodward gave him bad information. However, they were always going to do this. And I know you understand it, Twisted Bubba. I just think you're being a bit facetious with your question. There we go. Still, that poll's running. 62% of our viewers today believe that Callum Hudson-Odoi has a future at Chelsea Football Club. Make sure you phone up. There's quite a few of you waiting backstage. Edward, Joshua, and a few more. KJ's coming on very, very soon as well. No, it's not going to be a £150 million cash bid right now. That isn't going to happen. Chelsea seemingly want to do that, or Roman seemingly wants to do it, but they're never going to go straight in with that offer. Never, ever, ever. Patrick Van Arnholt here says football is dead. It's alive and kicking. It's thriving. It is absolutely thriving as it stands right now. Cho is on 120k salary. It would be highly unlikely that Dortmund will give him that. Very true. Very, very true indeed, which is one of the reasons why swap deals are very, very difficult. But then maybe there's something they can work out. Who knows? Maybe Chelsea still pay a percentage of his salary. Maybe Chelsea go, okay, well, we offered 80 million plus Odoi. What if we give you 95 million plus Odoi, and that extra bit of money covers the wage? There's ways around it. The one thing I'm going to say is this. There is never any smoke in this world without fire. And Hudson-Odoi's name is always linked with the move away from Chelsea. And I want to ask Chelsea fans this question. Why? Why always Hudson-Odoi? Why with his talent? Why with his ability? He always linked with a move away. I'd love to know your thoughts, your feelings. Rival fans phone up as well. Jard Wilson says, not all Chelsea fans are against Declan Rice. The past 12 months, he's been brilliant, bossing games at international level as well now. He's worth 70 million is what Jard Wilson has said. 70 million for Declan Rice. Viewers, give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on this. I'm going to go to some of our first callers on the show today. First up, I'm going to go to Edward. Nod your head for me. Are you over 18? Edward, you over 18? I'm going to try Edward here. Edward, what are you saying?
The Haaland deal, yeah, we're trying to sell Tammy to pay with his commission. That's why Tammy's going out, and I think that's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Riola wants 40 million.
Riola wants what? Sorry,
40 million.
Yes, the agent fees are going to be a big part of this as well. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Edward, cheers for calling in, bro, and having your say. We've got a bit of a signal issue there. We're going to try Joshua next. Joshua, who do you support, mate?
I'm a Chelsea fan.
Lovely. Give me your thoughts, Josh.
In terms of Hudson-Odoi, I'm not really too fast if he leaves, because online I've been seeing this obsession with Hudson-Odoi and Chelsea fans where, like, the guy is not perfect for me, but I understand he's young. But I feel like I wouldn't be too sad if I see him go. But I don't think that Dortmund will accept that and plus money. Yeah. And another thing, I don't think we're gonna sign Haaland for 150, because I don't think Chelsea will put it off on the table.
You don't think why don't you think they'll do it? What will be the reason for not doing it?
In terms of the amount of money they're gonna spend, maybe. So if they're gonna spend 200 mil and 150 for one player, I don't think they will do that. I don't think they will do that. And another thing is, I don't think they will Haaland will demand a certain amount of wages, and I don't think we will go over like 250 or 300, because we have a wage cap, I think. So that's another reason why. But my thing is, if Chelsea don't go for Haaland, I would rather take, like, I wouldn't take Danny Ings for the whole season, if you know what I mean. Rather go with what we have instead of, buying these type of players, and in 2 years down the line, and then these players will just be a bench player. So if you don't. Oh.
No, go on, mate. Finish up.
Oh no! All I wanted to say is that if it's not Haaland or Lukaku, just stick with what we have, and then just hope for the best, because we don't actually have a bad team, in my opinion, without Haaland or Lukaku.
You have a brilliant team, mate. You have an absolutely brilliant team. Joshua, thank you very much for calling in, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, mate. Thank you. And remember, Chelsea may still go in for Lukaku. That won't be an easy deal either. It won't be an easy deal either. We know that he has publicly stated he's happy. He's looking forward to working under Inzaghi. He's really looking forward to remaining there. However, it doesn't mean that you won't go back in for him. It doesn't mean you won't try and get Lukaku. But my view is very strong on Chelsea here. You are only going to try and sign an elite level player or two this summer. Outside of that, I wouldn't expect too much more at all. Next on the show, we're going to go to Dave. We're going to get Dave on the terrace. What are you saying, Dave?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Dave. Give me your thoughts on this Haaland news this afternoon.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the symbolic aspect of this Haaland deal. Like, first of all, I assumed that Chelsea would come back in for a bigger deal. You mentioning they might include Timo Werner in that deal. To be honest, I'm not that angry at it, but I would rather like to see him stay at Chelsea. But when it comes to the fact that if you look at Chelsea and their past, we never really, when we ever went in for players in a general transfer window, when we were trying to say, off the back of a very terrible season, then go on and try like build a team so we can take forward and then maybe build on that. I feel like we have reached that stage where, okay, last transfer window, we went in, bought a bunch of players to like build a core. We went in, we won the Champions League, and now we need to basically put a stamp on that by make a marquee signing. Now, The reason why I really, really, really want Haaland to come to Chelsea is because at the end of the day, he's the future. He's going to be a big star, and just by him coming into Chelsea will really make a statement to other clubs. Like looking at Chelsea, all right, these lot mean business, okay? They just won a Champions League. They're putting in a striker who basically scores one goal every game at the end of the day. You might bring in one other player like Declan Rice, who basically had a fantastic season at West Ham. He had an amazing game in the Euros tournament. Yeah, at the Euros. Now he's coming in, and these players will literally just like take Chelsea just a little bit up that level into like really becoming one of the world's best teams. Now, personally, like if Haaland were to come to Chelsea, and even if he stays for like 3-4 seasons, I won't mind that. Why? Because at the end of the day, if like you compare Chelsea to the likes of say Real Madrid, Barcelona, even Manchester United and Liverpool, okay, no one grows up saying, "Oh, I want to play for Chelsea Football Club." All right, it's not a person's like dream at the end of the day. Okay, Chelsea are not that club at the moment. So if we bring in a player like Haaland right now, when no one is coming after him per se, because let's face it, nobody else has the money. Real Madrid have got financial problems, Barcelona too. Bayern Munich have said they don't want them. So if Haaland were to come right now, that would literally tie him down to us for another like 4 or 5 years maximum.
Right.
So we can hold on to him and then basically just
get all that,
sell him
Dave.
off.
I do get. Do you think it's going to happen? That's what I'm trying to ascertain here. Do you think you're going to pull it off?
What I think is going to happen is that right now, I think Chelsea, they really want to get this deal done for reasons that I've just mentioned.
Yep.
But if they don't, then I feel like this next offer that goes in, okay, is probably going to be in the region of like 100 million euros plus say one of those 3 players you mentioned. Werner might turn the heads of Dortmund just because of his record in the Bundesliga. The way Dortmund play with their high pressing and all that, getting in behind, it might suit them. But just because of his stats over the past season, that might be a bit iffy for them because at the end of the day, they take the mick out of him a lot in Germany. I've got a lot of German friends. They all say the same thing about him. That would probably be the only thing that might turn Dortmund's head. But if Dortmund don't accept that 150 million, let's just face it, he ain't coming to Chelsea.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they don't accept the bid, you're absolutely right there, my friend. Dave, thank you very much for coming on and having your say. What I do find very interesting, again, this is why I say to a lot of football fans, like, don't take everything you read as read. So Chelsea are already putting out into the ether that Dortmund won't sell at any price. That's what they've updated and informed Ornstein with. Why? Because then if they don't land him, they can say, well, we didn't try. We didn't put an official bid in. And we always knew that they weren't going to sell him. It's not an L if you didn't try. A lot of people, and a lot of Chelsea fans will buy into that and go, yeah, that's a good story. We'll go with that. Equally, it was revealed by Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio Romano was the first journalist, I believe, to reveal that the offer made last week for Haaland wasn't an official bid. Straight away, people are like, oh, phew, it was turned down. And we're so happy that it's now been confirmed as not being an official bid because there's less embarrassment in that. It's why if you live in the world of semantics, it matters so much when it all means the same thing in reality. But of course, Fabrizio's someone that said 150 million pound and the player is yours. Chelsea don't want that part of the news to be looked at as true. The 150 million is yours, because that is what's triggering Chelsea fans, because their view is FFP's been relaxed, Roman's worth billions, put your money in your pocket and buy him. So Chelsea are already playing that down in case the deal doesn't get accepted. I love watching that element of the deal. I completely respect and get why Chelsea are doing this. They're going to make it sound like, well, there's no chance anyway. So why is everybody getting so stressed? It was never on the cards. They don't, where the other end of the spectrum, you've got the German end, they're kind of playing, oh, you know what? If you bid the money, it's there and it's done. It's playing the fans off against one another rather than everybody living in reality, which is if you bid the right amount of money at any point, at any time in history, you get the player. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Like that's how it's always been with the sale of any, right? Who's unattainable right now? Let's just say 5 years ago, Mbappe. Oh, no, Mbappe. 5 years ago, Messi, unsellable. If you offered 500 million, 600 million, 700 million cash, you'd have got him. You just would. He might not have gone. He might have agreed personal terms, but he'd have gone. This notion that a player isn't for sale, it's never existed. It's never, ever existed. Sometimes between particular clubs, yes. Like a Man United would never sell their best player to Liverpool, as an example, right? That wouldn't happen. The player wouldn't always agree to move. But in terms of a club accepting a bid, it is an absolute, in my opinion, fugazi, fraudulent claim to say not for sale at any price. Every club has a price, barring a few exceptions. So Chelsea fans, you know this deal is on. You know if your club bids the right amount of money, it can be accepted. It's like Liverpool with Soundagez. If they offer him the right contract, he may pick them over Barca. But at the moment, they're not willing to even offer him that contract. So Barca are now leading the race. They weren't even in 5 days ago. The Barca deal falls through, though, and Soundagez really wants to leave. That way it puts Liverpool into a bit of position of power because they can say, well, look, we want you at 180 a week. That's an example. I don't know if that's real or not. And he might then start to go, I really got to get away from Atletico. They don't want me. Okay, I'll accept it. That's the game of transfers. Michael here says, ask your Liverpool friends, why don't they start a GoFundMe since Liverpool can't even sign the great John McGinn. Michael Ramsey out again, going after Liverpool fans today. I'm going to be getting KJ on in a few moments. Do me a favor, please, everyone who's tuning in, and smash that like button. Subscribe to the Football Terrace as well. Man like Johnny Boy Blue says bid coming. Don't say it's a bid, Johnny. Some Chelsea fans will hunt you down. I actually got called out by a Chelsea fan earlier that went mental because I said a new offer in my tweet, and he's like, "We haven't even made one offer. That was debunked the other day." It's like, oh wow, but this is why clubs get away with the PR nonsense. Because I would say every fan base has like a 30% population that will drink that Kool-Aid every single day for their club. Arsenal fans last year, Aubameyang only signed because of his friendship and the managerial ability of Mikel Arteta. No, he signed for 375,000 other reasons. That's the main reason. The irony is you should be celebrating that, Gooners, because for years players left your club because you weren't prepared to pay them the going rate. You play someone the going rate and then you want to play on the PR element. Chelsea Football Club are working on a second bid. Exactly the makeup of that bid is up for negotiation. It's up to interpretation, up to an opinion. But they're definitely going to put another formal inquiry in or informal offer. Whatever one of those two things makes you happy, it's going to be coming. There's no doubt. Mohammed here says, it's a shame, man. I think Hudson-Odoi would be there or thereabouts on the England squad like Saka if it wasn't for that injury. That injury was 2 years ago, though, wasn't it? Like, I understand. Are we saying that injury has completely damaged his body for life? Or are we saying that he just hasn't got back into the rhythm? If he isn't back in the rhythm, then he's going to be okay, right? Unless you're saying that injury has ended him at the elite level, he's young enough to get through it. Next season's pivotal. I'm going to say this with chest, and I know it's going to upset Chelsea fans. I love the Chelsea fans on the terrace, but I always speak the truth. No echo chambers. If he is not regularly in your first team by March next year, he will be moving on. Whether it's him pushing for it or Chelsea moving him on. If he doesn't break in and be, I'm not talking about being impactful from the bench. I'm talking about being a mainstay in your first team. If he hasn't worked his way into your team, he has to go for multiple reasons. He's too expensive to have on the bench, and he's too talented and good for his own career to sit there. He needs to break in this year, in my opinion. I think the injury excuse can only go on for so long for everybody involved. Tyrone here. How you doing, mate? Says, why are you a mug? I don't know, bruv. I suppose I'm a mug because I have to hold little pathetic men's tears like yours all the time. Holding all your tears, Tyrone. Brother, you tune into every stream and give me insults. If you need a hug, you send me a message, bro. I'll come give you a hug. Come make you feel good. Come make you feel good, my bro. Hey, Terry, what's the update on Varane? I'll give an update on Varane's situation. I mean, Jan Furitov infuriated people earlier today because he put out a very cryptic tweet about Carlo Ancelotti that we know is with CAA base, which stated a few weeks ago, and the same agent as Varane, making it sound like this will be resolved really soon. I thought it was a little bit sarcastic and a bit of a joke around football fans always get dragged into this weirdness of, if I don't know, my manager has the same agent as my favorite player at another team, that means we're definitely going to sign him. I think he was taking the mickey out of that. But there's also a serious element of the fact they share the same agent. Ancelotti will probably just say, like, out of respect for his agency, let's just get this deal done quickly and done and out of the way. But there's no real update. Man United will be putting in a formal bid imminently. They're waiting to cross a few I's and dot a few T's. They've also been working very, very hard on the legality elements with the Sancho deal, which have just taken a little bit of time. Nothing was going to happen over the course of this beautiful hot weekend. Them lawyers ain't working. The lawyers are in their pools. They're in their holiday homes. Some of them might, they're at the Formula One this weekend. That's where those rich sons of guns are. Do you know what I mean? So that's all good. It is all good. Absolutely all good. Tyrone, though, if you want to become a moderator, maybe we should let you. I think I should make iTest a moderator as well. He says he ended me this morning. iTest. This is how badly you've done yourself. This is how badly you did yourself this morning, my brother. You can no longer come on the football terrace for a player of 22 years of age and younger and complain about something they have or haven't done. You can only talk about what they might do in the future. I just want to know, hang on, I just want to know why you care so much about Chelsea and other teams. Just focus on your own team. Read this. Because we're called the football terrace and we focus on multiple teams. Football without rivalry is finished. Football without rivalry is finished. So I talk about all the major clubs in the Premier League. And by the way, Tyrone, you're going to get upset because the football terrace is growing. Over the course of the next 2 years, we're adding more and more teams to the plethora of clubs we already cover. The palette is going to be beautiful. The variety is going to be sumptuous. The conversations are going to be groundbreaking. And Tyrone, my friend, I know you're going to be here every step of the way. Do you know what, iTest? I'm going to make you a mod. Remember, if you are a mod on the terrace, racism, sexism, do it. If someone laughs at you or has a go at you, your feelings being hurt because someone said your opinion is crap is not a reason to block someone. If you do that, you'll have your privileges removed. We don't need, we used to have a moderator that did that all the time. And it was upsetting, really, because I really liked that moderator 9 times out of 10. And then that moderator would go on a weird one, like a legitimate weird one. I'm just looking for iTest here in the comments. I can't find him. Where you at, iTest? Why can't I see any comments from you? Spam a few comments, iTest, so I can see you. I'm looking at on the terrace. By the way, I'm adding man like KJ in the house. What you saying, brother?
Making iTest a mod. Flipping out of me. You drunk?
What's wrong with me? I'm all right, bruv.
I can see. I know what it is. I can just see iTest being like, if you don't rate Neymar, you're getting blocked. I don't care, fam. You know what I'm saying? I can just see it. I love you, iTest, but you're mad.
Absolutely, absolutely. iTest has been modded now. There we go. Do you know what? People think I have a problem with iTest, and I love iTest. It's great. We're on a level where we can just have a. I think if you first tune into the terrace and it's the first call you ever see, it's like, oh my god, he talks to his viewers like that. Only iTest, really. And
iTest is great, man. If you don't have an iTest, then what is the football terrace, man?
Someone here says iTest or safe. Listen, if I had to get rid of one, I'd get rid of safe. I'd keep iTest over safe every day of the week, brother. I would. And original base Annie, I will be coming to pick the cake up later on this evening, bro. Once the traffic dies down, it ain't so hot. I'm going to drive to your house, my brother, and I'm going to pick up that beautiful looking rainbow cake you made my father for his birthday. KJ, so
yes.
This second bid that's going in, what's your take on it?
Chelsea doing what Chelsea are doing. Like any club would do that. If you really want a player, if someone says no, you don't just go, all right, master, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back to not wanting your player. Like, of course they're going to go with a second offer. Like, people were, it's funny because Chelsea fans were laughing at United saying, why didn't you just pay the money? Why didn't you just do what Dortmund said? Give them what they want. You know what you need to do. Just put the money in, put the money where your mouth is, or shut up. But now when it's them, man, it's, no, see, it's got to take time. We've got to take our time with it. These are big deals. They take a lot of money. We just need to be patient. Now it has changed when it's different clubs and that. I just love to hear it and I love to see it. But now Chelsea doing what they need to do, making sure they're getting the right deal for the right price for them. You don't just go into markets and be like, right, who wants 150 million, because everyone would just be like, yeah, 150 million, please, and you're just going to give it to everybody. No, you got to do what you got to do. My concern ain't even about Haaland, to be fair. That deal will get done, he won't get done. I don't really care. My thing is with Cho. Cho, Callum Hudson-Odoi, whatever your full name is, imagine I just said it. You need to leave Chelsea. Leave Chelsea Football Club, because you're not getting the development, you're not getting the game time, and you know what? You're not getting the respect that you deserve as a young, talented player in the English game. You deserve more than this. To be touted around, not once, but twice now, for players, for swap deals, is not good enough in my opinion. I think if I was Cho, I'd be like, listen, I know you love this club. I know you've been raised here. But as a footballer, as your career, you're getting to the stage now where you need to start playing football. You are seen as levels equal to Jadon Sancho. The only difference is Jadon Sancho gets games to prove his talent. Cho only gets minutes here and there. And you can see there's something there. But if he never gets the game time, no one will ever believe in him. You yourself, Terry, you don't question his talent, but you question how good his career going to be if he can't get minutes in this Chelsea team. He needs to go somewhere else and show what he's all about. Because I know he's a talented player. I think Cho is one of Chelsea's best young prospects they've had in years. But because of how Chelsea operate, because of how they want to win all the time, which is fair enough, like I respect that, they have not got time to develop certain players like Cho. Because you're not going to loan him out and let him and do what Mason Mount did, get game time under his belt for different teams. If you're not going to do that, then why is he there? Yeah. So he needs to go and get the game time that he needs to develop into the player that I'm pretty sure me, you, Chelsea fans, and even other rival fans can see that he can be.
Yeah, look, and we know that he's had the injuries. We know he had the ruptured Achilles tendon was at the back end of the 2018-19 season, as I said, over 2 years ago. And he missed he was out for a long period of time getting better. He had the bad hamstring, which he didn't miss a lot of games with, because obviously the season was pretty much on lockdown. The season was on lockdown then, and he came back. He had corona. I'm going to be respectful about it. You never know how bad someone's corona is or it isn't. I had one of my brothers had it, and he felt like he didn't know he had it. The other had it and was really sick. So I can't talk about that because I don't remember reading about it. He's had a few minor ankle and hip injuries since then. It's about Hudson-Odoi breaking into the... Like I say, I think his ability gives him a future at Chelsea. There is no doubt about it. But if he doesn't break into the first team this season, I would totally understand why Chelsea move him on. I would totally understand why he would then think about wanting to leave, because by the end of next season, he's 21, going into his 22nd year, going into being, he's going into, being 22, being 23. You're suddenly moving away from being looked at as a kid, and you're moving towards your mid-20s. The most dangerous thing for a football player, in my opinion, the most dangerous thing for a football player at his age isn't even the injury that he suffered with. Legitimately, in my opinion, it isn't. The most dangerous thing for a player of his age is inactivity and not getting enough game time. And I don't look at appearances. Appearances are not the important thing. It's about looking at the amount of minutes that somebody plays. If you look at appearances, over the last 3 years, it's got better and better. He had 10 league appearances in 18-19, 22 last year, 23 this year. But what's really important to focus on is like always, it's the amount of minutes that a player is getting. And that's what needs to improve for him, because without those minutes, the talent and the ability falls away. And I hope that he makes it. I legitimately hope that he makes it. I can't help but say it. And I know it upsets a lot of Chelsea fans when I say these things. I don't mean for it to, but I just feel like there's an issue. And I don't mean an issue with him. It's just something not quite right. And I
just feel like Chelsea are not the place. It's not the place for him. Sometimes that's just the case. I remember having this debate with some guys in the group chat. Like, they're saying there has to be a problem with Cho. Like, what's going on? I was like, doesn't have to be a problem with anyone. It can just be that the club is not right for you at this time, and you're not right for the club. That's legit. That's it. I don't think Cho, in the stage of his career right now, needs Chelsea, and Chelsea clearly do not need Cho. So what's the best solution? Let him go and play football somewhere else. Look at Tomori. Tomori went out on loan of AC Milan. He could have come back and tried to fight, but he said, nah, I got my game time, I got my praise, I got my love because I was playing well. Let me go to that place where I know I'm doing well. Cho should really be pushing for the same thing and saying, right, if you're not gonna, you're too sure. If you're not gonna play me, then send me out on loan at least. Let me get my game time and then sell me afterwards. Because he's literally just rotting away. Slowly but surely, he's rotting away. It's not like it's Mason, what you see with Mason Greenwood, where in Ollie's first interim, you start to get a little bit of game time, then it slowly increases as the time gets on. And now you see him as a fully fledged first teamer to the point where people are worried about him when it comes to Sancho. You know what I'm saying? Like, his development has grown at his time at Manchester United, and you can see that Man United want him to stay, they want him to develop, and they want to keep giving him games. You don't really see that with Cho. You do not see that with Cho, with Chelsea. Chelsea are like, all right, if you're not good enough now, then it is what it is. So for me, look at Guehi as well. You've got so many examples of Chelsea players who you could say are good enough to challenge against the first team, but decided to take the careers into their own hands and say, no, I'm not going to wait for you to find me acceptable. I'm going to go make myself acceptable somewhere else. And I think more young players need to do that. I know some of them are super talented and could break into the Man Uniteds, the Chelseas, the Liverpools, the Man Cities, all these other teams. You could do that. But there's times where you need to look at yourself, look at your club and be like, right, is this my time? And if it's not, that's okay. There are plenty of clubs that would take you and let you be the star. You're telling me Crystal Palace wouldn't let him be the star? Or a Leicester or Everton? These clubs that are trying to break into the top four, the top six, they would love a player like Cho to build around for the next 5 years. And after those 5 years, you should be hitting your prime, and then boom, get your move to the big club that you've always wanted.
Yeah, and this is the thing you've got to look at here. So Christian Pulisic is only a year older-ish. He's far more injury prone in terms of the volume of injuries that he suffers. You know, last season 4, season before that 5. But he's played on average 1,000 minutes more-ish per season than Hudson-Odoi, who's been available for more games. So Pulisic has been out injured more, available for less games, but played 1,000 odd minutes more. That's where I feel the problem lies. There's this, and you know, sometimes I talk about this a lot on the terrace. When a player's over, when there's an issue that you can see and you don't know what the issue is, but a player isn't getting enough game time, but yet he's always talked up, but then there's no action at the end of it. There's just this part of me that thinks, what's missing? What is it that we're not seeing that these managers are not? And that's why I'm desperate. Like, I'm really, really desperate, as you say, for Hudson-Odoi to go out on loan somewhere like an oral, one of our members said it earlier, somewhere like a Southampton where they'll play fairly good football, just to give him that opportunity to open his legs and see what he's all about. Because Chelsea are a very unique club. Doesn't matter whether you're 17 or 37. It's you perform to an elite level on a consistent basis or you leave. And I just think the consistency hasn't been there because of his age and the way Chelsea operate. It's very, very difficult for young players. You know, we've seen Reece James. Reece James is an interesting one. I always wonder if there was no Aspie at Chelsea, would they have been able to have bled Reece James in the way that they have done? It would have been a lot harder because if you didn't have that, say the only cover at that right area was Zabacosta. Like Reece James have to play more. When Reece James has had some like bad moments and little bad patches, which young, inexperienced players do, there's been a plethora of talent to cover him. With Hudson-Odoi, there is that quality. Attacking players it's a little bit harder because you need to score goals. You need to be creative. And the players that then come in to replace him, they're not at the age of Azpilicueta where you think, well, they're on the back end of their career. The people that are challenging for Hudson-Odoi's place are of similar ages, you know, or at similar ball, are high-level players that also want to play week in, week out. There isn't as much of a path for him. Mason Mount's a great example of someone that he's gone up a level, and he's gone up a level because he knows if I don't, they will look at Tammy Abraham. They're going to move him on because you're just not good enough. And I hope he turns it around. I'm going to have add David to the call with us now as well. I need to change the background. I'm going to add David in to have a chat with David. First and foremost, I want to get your thoughts on the Callum Hudson-Odoi conversation. You know, I want him to make it at Chelsea, but he's linked with a number of moves away again. And I know that Chelsea keeps saying 100% he's not going anywhere, but the smoke just doesn't disappear. There's always a story about him leaving. I'd love your thoughts, mate.
It's just one of those where it's like if he's not good enough or he's not playing, then he'll just end up going. That's just how things naturally work. But as you always say, if I have to sell Cho for my team to get better, I will sell Cho to make my team better. So I don't see why there's this like massive attachment to these players, because ultimately, unfortunately, the way like players are just like they are just I don't know, like commodities. They're just items. So effectively, you can just get rid of them and bring in new replacements. That's what they are. They're just parts of a system. So if that part isn't needed or is seen as it's valuable, but it's not what we need right now, and we think it's best if we get rid of this part to bring in another one, then that's how it should be. That's how Chelsea's been run. That's why Chelsea is successful. So why suddenly everyone wants to suddenly deviate from this and give all the youth as many chances as possible? I still struggle to understand to this day. Not many great teams have 8 youth players in their side. So why Chelsea think they can be the exception, I don't know. But yeah.
I don't know if it's about being the exception and having a whole team full of youngsters from the academy winning the league. Or I feel like as a fan base, you still want that connection to the club in terms of they've come through the ranks and played for Chelsea. Like everyone wants that, you know what I mean? Like Man United have the longest standing tradition, the longest record of each match day in every 11. There is someone who has graduated from the Man United academy.
Yeah,
yes,
but they were also good though.
No. I know it's so good, but it may not win you titles. It may not be the thing you're aiming for in football, but it's still something that people want because that connection is that coming through, and that's all I think some Chelsea fans want. They want the winning, they want success with superstar players. I'm not saying they don't, but at sometimes it's like it's nice to see a young player come through and with the club that they're raised with. So I think that's all it is. I don't think anyone's asking for a class of 2020 with Chelsea.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
I think people want their cake and eat it. I think I think all clubs, I don't think Chelsea are even exclusive. It's not an exclusive Chelsea thing. People want to develop all their youngsters and buy all the stars at the same time. And it just doesn't exist. It's never been done. It's never been done where you buy all the stars and you develop all your youngsters. You know, you go through even some of the famed Barca team. Yes, they were developing Messi. Xavi and Iniesta came through. Busquets was part of their academy. You can argue PK, but he went away and came back. It's the development of those players were at different stages. They didn't all come through at 18 years old each. If you tried developing an 18-year-old Busquets, Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, and PK all at the same time, same age, it would never have clicked the way it did. They were at different stages. They'd gone elsewhere, some of them, and come back, and whatever else was involved. It was PK went elsewhere and came back. It's crazy, and I do feel like with some people, there's just this. I want Hudson-Odoi and Mount and Reece James and Gilmore, and I saw people a few days ago talking about last chance now for Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, no. Okay, so basically.
Let's it go.
Basically, right. So after they've come back from their loans, obviously not much has happened because the Euros has happened. So you've got players like Zappacosta, Masonda, Loftus-Cheek, Conor Gallagher. They're all training right now, and I think he might be. And everyone thinks, oh, Loftus-Cheek is back. He's gonna be fit. He's gonna be. And I'm just there like, this guy is not it. The man is 27, I think, or 26. He's not the guy. He's got to go. Because ultimately, Chelsea need money. Because if we were to sell Zappacosta, Bakayoko, Loftus-Cheek, Gallagher, Mark Gay's getting sold as well, all these players, and we buy Haaland, I don't care whether they came through my academy or not, because Haaland's a better player. That's how I look at these things, because for me, it's like Chelsea is built to win. So in order to carry on that system, we need to build the best team for winning. If that means a couple youngsters have to go, that's how it has to go. But it's football, it's a sport. That's how these things are done. So, but genuinely, there are Chelsea fans who are like,
and Odoi are part of Tuchel's plans. Loftus-Cheek was captain against Peterborough. I just
Oi, yo,
wouldn't
Terry,
read too much in. I just wouldn't read too.
Half the team's not even there. Half the team isn't even there.
Phil Jones was captain for games again at friendlies too, bro. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean he's in Man United's plans because don't read too much in the preseason.
No, I totally get that. Viewers that are tuning in, just over 1,600 of you, do me a big favor and smash that like and that share button. The big news this afternoon coming out of Germany is that Chelsea are readying a new offer, a new approach, the second approach for Erling Haaland. This is going to be more cash than offered last week. There is still going to be, at this stage, players offered in return for Haaland, plus the cash already mentioned. The three names that are being reported from Germany are Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, and Callum Hudson-Odoi's name has been mentioned again. I want to ask, we are going to go to some more calls in a minute, but make sure that like button has been hit first of all, and that you subscribe to the Football Terrace, especially if you're brand new to our channel today. Lots of new people every day come along. So make sure you subscribe, get your comments in. You can phone up and have your say. We are going to take more calls from you as well. But David, what's your take on Chelsea's approach here in terms of cash and some player swaps? And what do you make of the three players that are supposedly up for this being propositioned as part of this swap deal?
Again, Hudson-Odoi I completely understand, because if you know about the German media, they actually love Hudson-Odoi. He's, again, buying offerings to an email last year. So there's so obviously they see him as like a valuable thing to go. Obviously, Timo just came last year from Germany, and they still think he's a very good player over in Germany, so that makes sense. But I out of the three players, I'd want Ziyech to go, simply because he's the oldest and he's probably just what he is, and we don't actually know whether he's good enough for the Prem yet. So if you could cash in, get Haaland for a cheaper price, and get rid of Ziyech, I'm not too against it. I think Werner. I think Werner's gonna have a really good season if he stays at Chelsea. So I wouldn't get rid of him. And Cho is just, if he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I think the problem with Cho is that
I'm going to finish up and we'll speak about Werner after.
No, I was going to say the problem with Cho is that I think he peaked. He almost peaked too early. He came in at 17, played in the first team, and he's been playing ever since. And I don't think he wants to do the whole let me go out on loan and learn what I'm good at and then come back. That's what I think the problem is. So it's either he goes or he stays. There's no in between. So yeah.
No, I hear that. The Werner thing's interesting for me. I suppose it's how and where you're going to use him, because if you were to ask, I reckon if you did a poll now, if signing Haaland meant Werner had to go, 85% of Chelsea fans are going to accept that because you are signing a superior striker. But actually, I think you could use Werner and Haaland very well together. That would allow Werner to go off and do all the channel running, a lot of the dog work and the grunt work, and then a little bit like he did. I mean, imagine Werner was at his best when he played up front with Poulsen. So Haaland is just a much, much better Poulsen, right? Like, could that not work? Or if you had the choice now, if Dortmund said, listen, we'll take 90 million plus Werner, would you accept that deal, David? Would you, as a fan, would you say that's good business?
Oh my gosh. I'd say yes. But again, my thing with Werner is that I think next season he'll be even better than he was last season. Again, people think he had a really bad year last year. If that's his really bad year, I've got nothing to worry about because he actually did very well considering it was his first season.
That's what I'm saying about Morata, my brother. It's just like
no, but like he actually did. I know. Again, he didn't score many goals. I think he only got 7 in the Prem or something. It was really low. But he did get loads of assists with someone like Haaland up front, and he's playing a bit like. Obviously, I reckon we'd probably start with both of them up front, and then Mount probably in behind. But if Werner was then on the wing and making those runs, distracting the runs, as you saw in the Champions League final, for example, that's probably the most obvious one everyone remembers. If he's doing that, but then it's Haaland on the end of the chances, Chelsea are going to score a lot of goals. Like we already would score a lot of goals if with like just a striker who's decent. But like when you add Haaland in, who will score those added half chances, they're going to score loads of goals.
No doubt about that at all. We're going to throw some more callers in to the show now as well. Matt is here with us. Matt's a Chelsea fan. What do you want to say, mate?
What up, Terry? How you doing?
Yeah, very, very well. What's on your mind?
I'll tell you what, I don't know where you're finding these Chelsea fans that are worried about a deal with Haaland, man. I mean, at the end of the day, as I said on Thursday, you know, when I was on the last time, you know, business is business at the end of the day. It takes time to develop any sort of working relationship or deal as such. To be quite honest with you, I mean, as I said before, they could be, as you've said last year with Jadon Sancho, they could be saying that, you know, they've got agreements and stuff like that to work through. You know, and well, I know the Daily Express is not exactly a reputable newspaper, but there's talks about Roman Abramovich even getting involved now personally. So, you know, there is going to be the deal is going to heat up at some stage. And as far as the free players that are going are concerned, I mean, I agree with David to completely get rid of Ziyech, to be honest, because I mean he's closer to be honest as far as age wise. I mean, Tammy, to be honest, I mean, yeah, I can understand him going. I'd feel sorry for Callum Hudson-Odoi that did go because he's a young upcoming talent and he's just not really been given the game time. But then again, we had the same with Lamptey. We've had the same with many other different players that have gone on to do first team football. It is what it is. So we'll see what happens, really.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you completely. I think it's very normal. The thing about Roman being involved, this is something that Dean has been talking about in the Done Deal show for many, many weeks now, that this is something that Roman is pushing for. The only way I think Roman would bid the money tomorrow. They're always going to go in low and work the way he would do it. There's still a lot of people keep saying, and you'll see this phrase thrown around, but FFP's been relaxed. Challenge anybody to explain what that means. I spoke to 5 journalists and said, what does that mean? And they've all gone, no one really knows yet. So if no one really knows, it's hard to follow those instructions, because if the interpretation is wrong and it ends up damaging Chelsea further on down the line, that's what your decision makers at board level are there to do. They're not just about appeasing fans in the short term. Protect. Just imagine you drop the money, and then your wage bill goes up, and then you do all these knock-on effect things for the next 2 years, and then in 3 years' time, because the blurred lines have been straightened out again with FFP, and then you're overspending by 70, 80 million a year, and you end up breaching rules. Said before, I would be fearful of any club breaching FFP rules right now, because I think UEFA are looking for a reason to punish a Super League club. Just looking at a reason to throw the book at a Super League club and make an example of them. So they do need to be careful. There's no doubt about that. Well,
at the end of the day, Terry, you've got, they'll do anything, literally anything, like you said. And to be honest with you, do you really want to give them the ammunition to do so? No, you don't. So at the end of the day, it's all about taking your time. It's like the Jadon Sancho deal with you guys. I know it took over a year, but you still got the player in the end. You've still, you're working, you worked out the logistics, you worked out all the nitty gritty stuff, and you've got the player at the end of the day. The difference is with us is that, as much as like you guys, like KJ said before, it's different sides of the coin and different other things, and we're very blessed to have a good owner that puts his money first. But sometimes it's best for the deals to just take time and see what happens. And like I said before, it could be to the point where that no players could go. You could have Ziyech or someone like that, or these 3 players that say, do you know what, I don't want to go. And they'll just say, do you know what, we'll put up the cash, but we'll do it in installments, do it as, bonuses and different other things. And we'll just loan Haaland out, like I said last week to you. There are all different things that can be done, So I think what they're trying to do is just do what's good for the club and good for the business, really.
I hear you on that, mate. Top man. Thanks for coming on, Matty, and having your say. I do need to ask the boys another question while we're here. I'm seeing Bruce out trending. I've seen Arteta out trend. I've seen a few of the big boy clubs across Europe lose or draw opening preseason games. Why in the last couple of years have football fans become so... I don't want to blame fan channels and social media, but people take preseason games seriously now. There's like fan cams for it and stuff. Why?
Man, one of the biggest... I even made a tweet about this. And Bleach Report annoy me sometimes because them man like to chat when you don't need to chat. They like to make memes and stuff like that. And it's just like, I get banter, but then sometimes there's literally overdoing it. Like they made a meme about Arsenal drawing to, was it Rangers? And I'm sitting there like, it's not even a serious game. Like preseason games are for fitness and tactics. That is all. That is all that is there for. It's for the manager and players to get ready for the new season. The score lines really don't mean much. Because say if you lost 5-0 to a team that you shouldn't, but it's because you're trying a new defensive tactic, does it matter that you conceded 5, you go back to the drawing board, use it as a lesson, and you go again? That's what preseason is. I think fans are getting so sucked into, and we all do it. We all do. I've done it. David's done it. Everyone does it. You do it, Terry. We get sucked into the whole, let's banter all the time, that you just lose sight of what is actually going on. Preseason games, flipping out. There's no need to be serious or banter anyone about them. It is what it is.
And I get fan channels covering it. I'm talking about I've watched AFTV. I was watching some of Goldbridge stream today when I had the game on, and obviously that weren't fan cam, but I was reading the comments, and I'm like, just it's practice. It's some people. I've actually heard Arsenal fans in the last week, our season is doomed already. It's like, oh, for what reason? Like, I've been preaching this now. I'm saying you do a fan cam, but this would be like, listen, this player looked good, fitness be done. Just take it as a bit of fun. I used to go to preseason games when I was a season ticket holder. It was just a jolly up. You didn't take the game seriously. It was all just fun. But actually, in some respects, preseason games are some of my favorite because there's nothing that rides on them. And I remember this being away. I went away with a group of United fans to watch a couple of games under Louis van Gaal's reign, and we beat everyone, hands down, beat everyone. All the top.
I remember that we won the was it the ICC?
Yeah,
we won the ICC. Yeah.
I'm going, listen, boys, this season could be amazing. And me and my friend Brad, we were there. We were looking at each other like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And so it isn't. Social media has made it worse. And I think then it's just the crazy seriousness of it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like if someone said, do you want to do a fan cam about how Man United did today, I'd be like, Pellistri looked sharp. I was quite impressed with Gardner in the middle. Thought he did well. Pellistri looked really good. Should Terry come on and look really nice? Are you worried that Greenwood had a quiet game? No. Pre-season, I just fine. I just don't care.
The only time you should be worried about preseason is if you lose all your games, because then it's like you've made numerous changes, you've swapped the lineup loads of times, you've tried all the tactics, and you're still losing. That would be the only time I'd ever look into it and be worried.
And that's if 90% of your first team are there.
Yeah.
If you lose like 3 games in pre-season, but it's literally your reserve and youth team because your players have all been away on international duty, I'm worried that we haven't had a full pre-season. But I'm not worried about drawing to Brighton or Blackpool in pre. It's like it's just a madness. It really is a madness. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny as well. Yeah, remember these smaller teams that you play against. They're just excited to play against Man United or Arsenal or whoever. So they will up their levels just for pre-season, just for that game. Like so, when you're on the low, just like it's pre-season, and then the other team's like, right, we know it's pre-season, but let's go beat this team. Of course, it's going to be more of a challenge because and plus these smaller team seasons start earlier, so they have to put more work in. Like there's so many different things that go into it. Everyone just needs to relax. Pre-season is pre-season because you need to train before you start the season. Like there's nothing more about it.
But it's become a brainwash thing, and it started years ago. Again, fan channels are just part of it, and I'm part of the fan channel thing. But the reason I made a conscious effort to not cover pre-season games because I just felt they were being taken too seriously. But I used to have MUTV, and a player would score a goal. That's the first goal that is scored for the club. I'm like, it isn't. It's not a real goal. It's not a goal. Today, the MUTV were like, duh. Today is Chicharito's debut. No, it ain't. His debut will be the Community Shield or the opening Premier League game, you twonks. But what it is, there's money to be made. And the TV companies, the media outlets, they build up these preseason matches like they're serious. And then the banter comes in. You'll get Bleacher Report like laughing at you. And then everyone gets into it. It's like, it's just honestly, people are just being made mugs of. There's a super chat here from Shadman. He says, Arsenal didn't win any of their preseason games before the start of the Invincible season. It's just training and testing lineups. People need to relax. And that's always been my view. I really do. I really do think people have got to relax a little bit. Like, I mean, sometimes, again, some people do it because it's like, I'm going to predict a bad season. And then they sit there praying all season that they have a bad season so they can say, see, I told you I was right. Oh, wow. Man like DJ. Okay, you guys are chatting to each other. I don't know. That's nothing to do with what we're speaking about here. Chelsea's pre-season games are important because Chelsea have had over 50 players. Tuchel wants to decide who we'll want. Yeah, listen, so individuals looking sharp and looking like they can do. I'm actually more, what I preferred watching when I used to follow Man United's tours was watching them train. That's what I preferred, watching them train, watching them do drills, who's standing out, what groups they're in. The performances in matches are weird. Like today with Man United, we're taking heat break drinks because it was 36 degrees on pitch level. That's not training for the season because we're never going to, you are highly unlikely in a Premier League campaign to play a game in that heat. So the game ain't even normal in terms of the breakup of it. 11, 12 substitutions being made. Yeah, that's normal prep.
Yeah, two separate teams in 2 halves. Like, come on, people. Like, it's not serious, man. It's not serious.
It's honestly, mate, it's an absolute madness. If you want to phone up and have your say, please call in. The links are on the links commented up there now. The links posted actually pinned up to the live comment section.
You good there, Terry?
I got there in the end. Says I forgot to add, we will still sell players too, and we could make up nearly half of that Haaland money. Of course you can. And by the way, the Rice bid is imminent. The Rice bid is coming.
Declan Rice. If it's the same thing with Ben Chilwell, he's a good player. He's good. If we sign him for 70 mil, I will not be happy. However, if we sign him for like 45, 50, it's calm. I don't mind that. But please,
why are you so against English? Why are you so racist and against English?
Same guy wants Harry. I'd love Harry Kane. I'll take Harry Kane. So
I better not do that joke because I'll get a bad article written about me.
You're profiting. Yeah, profiting.
Man left his wife in another country just to come to England and pretend to be an Arsenal fan to make a.
Oh my God! That was flipping out.
It was almost like. Have you ever seen those fake news accounts? They're like they make weird stories. Do you know what I mean? So once you start reading, they're so obviously fake. It was almost like a parody story, and then you realize that it's crazy, absolutely crazy. We're gonna add a caller here. Anant is gonna come on the show and have his say. Welcome to the show. What do you want to say, buddy?
Yeah, about the Hudson-Odoi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, about the Hudson-Odoi thing. Seeing last season, Tuchel was clearly invested in him and giving post-match tactics and that sort. And regarding the preseason thing that you guys were talking about, as per Chelsea, they had a match against Petersborough, and Tuchel used a different formation, a 4-2-4, or what you can call as a 4-2-2 formation. And the thing I agree to you is that we shouldn't take preseason seriously, as in if we even have a defeat, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, some sort of signs can be taken. Like a few minutes ago, a comment that you put up that Loftus-Cheek was the captain of the second half, right? That's absolutely useless because none of the first teamers were there, right? So he had to put someone as captain because the rest of the 10 players were either loanees or youth players. So because Loftus-Cheek was a Chelsea player before, that's why he was the captain. So that absolutely doesn't make any sort of sense. Like people saying that as he was the captain, he will be in the squad, or as somebody started the first preseason game. And to be in all honesty, Petersborough just got promoted from League One. So defeating them 6-1 and reading very much into the game doesn't make sense to me at all.
No, I hear you on that, bro. Listen, my brother, thank you. Great call. And thanks for coming on the terrace, mate, and having your say.
I've got a question for Chelsea fans, Terry.
Sorry?
I've got a question for the Chelsea fans when they come on and for David. If you do not sign Haaland, what is the best possible window that you guys could have? Because right now, Haaland is the key to unlocking everything, apparently. So if you don't get him, what's the best?
If we don't get Haaland, we need a centre-back. Varane would be nice, but I think he's probably going to go to United. So we need a centre-back, a DM, and another winger. I think that would be a good window for us. But they have to be of good quality, not just,
So Jadon Sancho, if he was available.
No, because I don't think. No, we need like a fourth choice winger. We don't need another, because then we'll effectively have 4 wingers who all think they deserve first team football in some way. Someone like a Doku would be really good because he's young, got loads of potential, and I think he could come on in games and make a massive impact.
You don't want to stopgap striker.
Ideally, no. I mean, again, if we loan them in, the Griezmann probably not. But like if the pie was still available, somebody like that who we could have brought in for really cheap, or loan somebody in, I wouldn't mind that. But I don't want to end up with a stopgap guy and then him kind of be a bit annoyed that he's only been used for 1 year. I guess as well, because Giroud's now gone as well, we actually do need another striker, because again, all these Chelsea fans saying Broja signed a new deal and he's going to relax. Okay, he just had a season at Vitesse. He needs to, adjust. Right, so let's keep it relaxed. So we probably do need actually another striker to go in. But
you're about to lose Tammy as well, and then your only recognised striker isn't really a striker, because what is he? Is Werner. So like, I think you guys need to find a solution to this striker issue. Even if you sign Haaland, you need another one.
Yeah, you need another one. I just don't. Again, I'm sure there's a really obvious example. I just can't think of any right now. But again, another striker would be useful, because just having someone who can finish the chances we make is helpful. So yeah.
Yeah, what Chelsea should do.
I think Chelsea should stick to their guns and go after the elite end players that they're looking at. Because for me, I feel like I just think you need a cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake, as opposed to anything else. Does that make sense? I feel like Lukaku would be a good option if you could bring in, like, Lewandowski. I don't think is the right player, because it stops you from picking up somebody with more years left in their legs a year later, because the amount of money he would cost and then what he would cost you in salary and the status he'd have, he ain't going for a year. Does that make sense? Unless he flops, and then why would you want that? So I just feel like I would almost wait. I'd focus on other areas of the pitch. So it's like, do you know what? Maybe let's bring the midfielder in we need. Maybe we bring that centre back that we were maybe delaying until next year. Maybe you go and sign a superstar goalkeeper. Do you get what I mean? Someone that may be a priority next summer, you move it up a year. Like, that's what I would look to do, and then stick with what you've got elsewhere, because I just feel that to give up on Haaland this summer and not go back in for him next year because you've signed another top striker, it just could be a mistake. Even if you've got Lukaku, it could still be a mistake. But outside of Lukaku, I just think you wait and refocus on another area of the pitch. That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, there we go. Look, we'll come to the end of the stream now. Anyway, everyone, listen, everyone who's tuned in, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Make sure you're smashing that like and subbing as well. We'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.